Jesus didn't really do that many miracles that were unique to him. Almost everything that he did had either already been done by prophets who came before him or was done by his disciples who came after him. There wasn't a whole lot that was just Jesus, which is why I think so many people missed who he was when he came to earth. When we read the Bible, we sit there and we go, oh my gosh, how did these people not clock that this is fully God? Like, he's doing all of these things that only God can do. Well, no, he wasn't doing things that only God could do. He was healing people and multiplying food and casting out demons and raising the dead, which is all stuff that prophets did. People thought Jesus was a prophet. And that's because his ability to do miraculous things didn't come from the fact that he was God. Jesus gave up aspects of his divinity to canonically come to earth. He didn't consider equality with God something to be grasped. The reason that Jesus was able to do all of these things was the same thing that made the prophets able to do it. It's the same thing that made the disciples able to do it. It's the same thing that makes us able to do it. It's the Holy Spirit. Jesus gets baptized in the Holy Spirit. Well, first he goes in the desert and he has to get tested. And he has to prove to God that he is ready and able and responsible to receive the Holy Spirit. But then he goes and he gets baptized and the Spirit descends upon him like a dove from the Father. Or as my pastor likes to say, God baptized God with God. Aren't Trinitarian metaphysics so much fun? And then Jesus does miracles. But only through the empowerment and obedience to and the living out and the relationship with the Holy Spirit. That's where it's able to happen. And the craziest verse, in my opinion, in the whole Bible is in the book of Luke, when Jesus is talking to his disciples and he says, hey, anyone who believes in me is going to do the things that I do. And then he says, and they will do even greater things than I have done. Anyone who believes in me, I believe in Jesus, I'm supposed to do greater things than Jesus did? That's crazy. What do you mean? Well, he tells us what he means, because that's not the end of the verse. He follows it by saying, they're going to do greater things than I have done. Why? Because I am going to my Father. That's the justification. That's the way that we are going to be able to do things greater than what Jesus did, is because he's going to the Father. What happens when he goes to the Father? The Holy Spirit comes. We get Pentecost. We get the Holy Spirit. We are currently living in the most insane spiritual age of all of history, because in the Old Testament, the way that the Holy Spirit worked, not everybody had the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit was given in measures to specific people for specific reasons in specific times, right? Prophets received a measure of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes leaders received a measure of the Holy Spirit, but it also could be taken away. And when it was taken away, people went crazy. And not everybody had the Holy Spirit. Jesus is saying, hey, all of you are going to do greater things even than I have done, because all of you are going to have exactly what I have. You are going to have the Holy Spirit, and you are going to have it in fullness. You are going to be able to be baptized by the Holy Spirit. You are going to be filled with and in relationship with and obedient to and empowered by the Holy Spirit of God. In the same way that Jesus is. That's crazy. That's crazy. I know what you're going to say, and I can already see the comments. Well, then how come we don't see miracles today? How come if we have this Holy Spirit, if we're going to do greater things than Jesus did, how come I'm not seeing any miracles? How come miracles don't happen? You're not seeing any miracles. Miracles do happen, actually. Miracles are happening all over the world, all right? Talk to any missionary who has ever done ministry in a part of the world where, witch doctors or shamans are, a big deal, or if spirit guides are a part of their culture. If a community is already cued into spirituality, you see way more miracles, right? Because God has always entered into our understanding. God has always, out of a desire to have relationship with us, God will cater the way in which he works and the way in which he moves to reach the people in specific ways that they need. So if people are already used to seeing miraculous spiritual things happen, God does miraculous spiritual things for them to minister to them, right? A missionary can go in and see oh yeah, your witch doctor can heal your son of the thing that he's sick from. Well, my God can raise the dead. And then it happens. Look into these stories are crazy miracle. Jesus level miracles are going on in places where people are willing to see them, where people will believe in them when they see them. In our culture, in America, we worship money and science. And I should be careful. I believe in science. Anytime I talk about science and hear people are like, Christians don't care about science. I believe in science. But we are not, in our world, in our era, in our culture, we don't care about the miraculous. We don't want to see the spiritual. We will find a way to explain away the spiritual every time we do see it. And so God fits himself into a different context. God reaches us in different ways. But you know where? in America, you see miracles all the time. Pentecostal black churches that preach about the Holy Spirit, that ask for the Holy Spirit, that are faithful to the voice of the Holy Spirit, that are unafraid to look silly and crazy to other Christians in the way that they worship. That is where God is moving. That is where, well, God is moving everywhere, but that is where you are seeing miracles. That's where prophesying is happening. That's where tongues is happening. That's where healings is happening. You know where it's not happening? Legalistic white churches where you can't raise your hands and worship because it's seen as disrespectful to God. I'm not making it, and not to make it a black and white thing. It's not a black person versus a white person thing. But like, here's the thing. To him who is faithful with much, much more will be given. Jesus was faithful with much. Jesus had to be tested. Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and was tested by the devil. He was put under all of this, so that he could prove to God that he was ready and responsible. Again, God proving to God. Trinitarian metaphysics. And then when he was responsible and faithful to much, much more was given. The fullness of the Holy Spirit was given. And if you want to do incredible things with the Holy Spirit, right now, you're not doing anything with the Holy Spirit, you're not going to do incredible things with the Holy Spirit. To whoever is faithful with much, much more will be given. If you're faithful with nothing, nothing will be given. You're not going to do it. And Jesus, the thing about Jesus was that he was always perfect in it, right? The way that he was so perfectly able to always do everything the right way with the Holy Spirit is because he was in relationship, is because he submitted in obedience, is because he built relationship with, and he was empowered by, and he listened to the voice of God, right? All of that has to be in place if you want to do things with the Spirit, because you can manipulate and abuse giftings from the Holy Spirit. There were some prophets in the Old Testament who took the things that God gave them, like the gifts that God gave them to be able to do, and they used them for like bad, sinful things. Like, don't ever make fun of your pastor who's balding if you live somewhere where bears are. That's all I'm going to say about that. Jesus never did. Jesus was faithful in everything. Jesus was perfect in everything. He never messed up. He never used it wrong. He never missed a step. He was always in line with God. And so he was the best example of what it looks like to live out in the Holy Spirit, right? But he was the example. What are you meant to do with an example? You're meant to follow it. You're meant to image it. You're meant to copy it. The same spirit that caused the disciples to cast out demons and prophesy, that caused Jesus to walk on water and feed 5,000, that caused the prophets to, make famines and heal people and raise the dead and all of this stuff. That spirit is in you. That spirit is in me. That spirit is desperate to empower us to do the same, to do things greater. But we have to be faithful to it. We have to listen to it. If you're not seeing miracles and you want to see miracles, mama, step up. Get it going. Pray for the greater gifts. Practice. Step out in faith. Get it done.